Have you started the meeting lines?
Meeting is officially started, yes.
Okay. All right, welcome to the February 6th, 2023 City Council Budget and Finance Subcommittee Standing Committee meeting. In the interest of government transparency with regards to deliberations and decisions made by the BNF Standing Committee, and according to open meeting law, since this meeting was posted as a Zoom meeting, this meeting is recorded by video and audio and will be conducted by remote participation. Additionally, all votes taken by the Budget and Finance Standing Committee during this and future remote meetings will be by roll call vote. If you are calling in on a phone, you can press *9 to request to speak. If you are watching on a computer or device, there is a raised hand button you can tap or press to request to speak. Please use either of these options during oral communication, which none of that applies. We're not going to be taking public testimony tonight on any of these issues, so really none of that applies. So welcome. And first on our agenda is a memorandum from the Harbor Master.
Actually, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Oh, yeah, that's probably a good idea, huh?
Okay.
Well, first off, I'll introduce Counselor at Large Jeff Worthley, and I'm Tony Gross. And on the call, we have our legislative aide, Lyons Jones. We have our city auditor, Kenny Costa, our CFO, Connor McCorkle, our harbor master, Chris Lucido, and our Council on Aging Director, Elise Sinagra, try to get the terminology correct, and our from the Health Department, Chelsea Goldstein Walsh. And first order of business is a memo from the Harbor Master concerning City Council authorization for fee changes. You're up, Chris.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I'm Chris Lucido, Harbor Master, City of Gloucester. The Waterways Board and the Harbor Master's Office is seeking council authorization to make changes to certain fees and rules. It's our intent to maintain the excellent, It's our intent to maintain the excellent facilities and service offered to boaters. The increased revenue will let us do so.
Okay, you want to talk us through them?
Yes. So our ramp fee for Dunfudge and Boat Ramp is currently $10 a day, and we'd like it to go to $15 a day with a $100 per season pass, which will stay the same. Our transient moorings are currently $65 per day, and we'd like them to go to $70 a day. Our tie-up at Solomon Jacobs Landing is currently $5 per hour up to 4 hours. We would like to change it to a flat $20 fee for up to 3 hours in order to bring more people into the dock, bring more people into the city, and have more turnover at the dock. And that's basically what I have.
All right. Questions?
If I may.
Councilor Worthley.
Yes, thank you. First, thank you, Chris. The work you're doing and the Waterways Board, the work they're doing is also amazing. It's nice to see that you got the award again for the Elite Fleet, I think that's what it's called. The Elite Fleet tier of boaters.
Fleet, yes.
Yeah, congratulations on that again. Just a question on each of these. I support what you're doing. I'm guessing all this is informed by some data. It says here you'd like to incentivize use of the season pass.
Hold on a second, Jeff. I want to welcome Chairman Memard.
Thank you.
Turn the reins over to you, Chairman Memard.
Let me listen to what's going on. Thank you.
We're in the Harbor Master's request for fee increase.
Yes.
Welcome, Scott. I was just
Thank
asking
you, Jeff.
on the, we would like to incentivize use of season pass. And so are you finding that on the $10 per day fee right now, that there's a lot of people who are coming more than 10 times? Because in a way you don't want to set the person who's coming 20 times at $10 a day, we want them to keep doing that, right? Versus them getting a $100 season pass. So I just want to see if there's a break point where you're finding people are only coming for one day at a time, or is it that they're likely to buy the season pass more because they're coming 10, 12, 15 times a year, I'm sorry. And if you don't have that data, that's okay too. I just want to understand how it
Yeah,
was.
yeah. So we do have a lot of people. Most people use a season pass. They come quite often. There are a few people, a lot smaller number of people that use it on a daily basis. So we think for those people it's okay. We're trying to push people towards the season pass, and we're not upping the season pass or not trying to up the season pass price. It's a matter of sending people to use the season pass, handle less cash on our end. A person that may come once or twice may not have a big issue with a $5 upcharge. And that's kind of why we're trying to go towards the pushing people towards the season pass type of thing.
Makes sense. I don't think someone who has a boat and spending money on the fuel to come here is going to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not coming back because of the extra $5." My guess is that you've done your homework, that this is palatable compared to what's out there in the market. So, I did want to ask a similar question on the transient mooring fee. $70 is right around the average, the $69 average, the closest marinas. Do we have any sense that we're going to lose some people because we're not as inexpensive as we've been, or do you feel like this is right in line with what the boating public's expecting?
This is right in line. We did a survey from the Rhode Island coast right up to Maine, tons and tons of data, crunched the data. We did our Gloucester itself. We crunched the data there. $69 is the average amount. So I think we'll do very well with it. I'm skeptical going any higher at this point, but maybe something different in the future will happen.
Yeah, and there's other variables, right? Fuel prices and other marinas that people might want to go to. So it's good that we're competitive. My last question on this one is, I like the idea of the 3 hours versus 4 hour max on the $20 flat fee, because you get a little more turnover that way. We don't want someone feeling like they're being rushed to leave, but we also, if they're freeing up a spot, then maybe we get someone else coming here and spending money. So I like that. And then, do you find that people come here for 1 hour at a time or 2 hours at a time, or is it typically 3, 4 longer? Like, is it typically longer than just? I can't imagine you did $5 per hour and people stayed for 1 hour, right?
Does happen. It does happen. It's not often. Usually they stay for, it's a minimum of an hour. I mean, it takes a little while. Somebody will come in, tie up, they'll walk to Main Street, they'll grab something to eat. Sometimes there's a line, sometimes there's not. So sometimes they'll like to go get an ice cream, take a walk down the boulevard, whatever it may be. So we don't want to make it any shorter than 3 hours. And that's the purpose. The board decided or thought that it would be a really good idea to get a little more turnover. And get people in town. And it's
And I
not
guess,
saying that they can't, stay, double that.
Mhm.
They would obviously pay twice. So we're not telling them, after the 3 hours, you have to go.
You're not like untying them and letting the boat float away, right?
No, no, no. And on the weekends we're manned. We have a dock master that's there on Saturdays and Sundays that, watches the whole thing and helps the boaters out. So
I imagine if someone comes back 3 hours and 2 minutes, you're not charging them another $20. You're
no,
working,
no, no,
right?
no, no, no. We have to be reasonable,
Of course.
obviously.
I like what you're doing. I'm impressed. So I don't have any other questions on this.
I have a couple. So one thing needs to be understood at Dunfudgeon, we have to justify with the state what we're allowed to charge a fee, but all the money has to be spent on site.
Yeah. So I'm sorry.
So if you went much higher, I don't know if you would have the ability to justify it.
Yeah, so I
You
talked to
know,
the state.
on the season passes is mostly what I'm talking about, not the $15 increase, but if you jump season passes up $50, now you're gonna be hard pressed to try to justify how you're using that money on location.
Right. Right. So I talked to the state today. We're going to do a breakdown and submit it to the state. They just want to make sure that we're using the money, as you said, on site, and we're not making a huge profit on it, which our expenses there, between trash and Jiffy John's and cutting grass and all that kind of thing, is in the range, without doing the numbers, in the range of $25,000 to $30,000. And I believe they're not, the 2024 numbers aren't accurate. They just came out today. But the last I saw, we brought in like 17,000 gross. And I don't know if that's a correct number. That's what we had here in the office off of an old chart. I just picked it up just now before the meeting. So, there's room for some income.
If I
So
may.
you'd have to look at the FY24 numbers.
Yeah, so, and that was just, it said FY24, so I don't know if it was a forecast number. Books were just closed today, I believe.
Right.
Yeah, for the FY24 numbers.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know if that was an old forecast number, but there's definitely room. We're spending, almost 30K there, when all is said and done. But we'll do the numbers anyway. We have to submit the numbers, actual numbers, to the state.
Yep, and then and Don, I see you have your hand raised, and I just want to take a second to talk about the the transient fees. That's with the facilities we have, they're quite what we have is really top of the line, and we have 2 launches now. People aren't waiting. It's going to be a really good thing. I do have a problem with the 3 hours, because by the time you get there, you tie the boat up, you look around, you walk uptown. I just it is, they're gonna have 2 hours to be downtown, basically, is how I see it. It is a little different than just parking a car. And if we wanted to go to 3 hours, I would say that amendment would be $5 per hour after that. So leave the option open. But Chris, also, how often do you have a dock master there to collect this?
We have a dock master there on Saturday and Sunday, and then there is an honest box, a lock box, with an envelope, name, address, telephone number, and that's collected daily.
Yeah. So it's it's a little hard to unless the launch drivers are doing, but hopefully they're out ferrying people around and not being stuck on policing the dock. So yeah, boat ramp, yeah, 14,000 is what I see too, 14,005. Oh. Now how do I get back to the Zoom? There we go. Oh, nope. Oh, well.
We can hear you still.
I see you and hear you, Tony,
Yeah.
so you're in.
I just can't see you.
I'm not that good looking, so you don't need to see me.
Tony, that raised a question. May I ask one more?
Yeah, Scott's running the meeting.
Go ahead,
He's-
Councilor Worthley.
Thank you, Councilman Hyde. Chris, you said that there's a dock master who collects cash, and then there's an honor system. I didn't know we're doing cash. There's nothing we can do about it now, but I would love to think that we can get to some form of, just so there's a little more accountability and not making any accusations, just so there's no issues, but with credit, being able to take credit cards or something like that. Is that a capacity you have and aren't using yet, or you don't have the capacity to do that right now?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, I got something going on my end, but if you can hear me, yeah, right now we don't have the capacity. We can do some credit card stuff through our mooring system. But we don't have the manpower and the ability to run credit cards, through the office.
Right.
Yeah, it's not practical at this point.
In theory and in time, it would take less manpower if there was an honor system and someone used a credit card, much like a kiosk or something like that. But that's not for this season. Okay, I have no more questions about the fee increases. I'm good.
Okay.
So are we amending the proposed, any amendments to what's been proposed in these three measures?
Well, I think Donna Crocker wanted to, she had her hand raised. Did you still want to?
Donna's welcome to speak, if we can bring her in.
Can you hear me?
We
Yep.
can. Welcome, Donna.
Oh, look at that picture. That's before I had my gray hair. Well, I did have my gray hair. It was just colored. So to Jeff's point, to Counselor Worthley's point, we are trying to get away from cash. I think you guys remember a couple of years ago, we were looking at, the launch season passes and raising the per ride fee to sort of push people towards the season passes, because that typically doesn't get done. It typically gets done by a check or people bringing cash right into Leslie in the office or a credit card. And so the same thing, the honor system, it works with honorable people and it doesn't work with people that are dishonest. So what's happening is people are putting empty envelopes down at the Solomon Jacobs dock and walking away and leaving their boat. Really, the point of the 3 hours is to get more turnover and get more people into the city. I don't, unless somebody's down there all the time, there are always going to be people that are, cheating the system. And same thing at the launch is if we can get people to do, an upfront season pass, yeah, maybe they may use it more than 10 times, but we have the money and they have their pass. It limits the amount of watching we need to do, that monitoring the system. So, it is, if we can't take the credit cards, at least, this is the way to sort of incentivize people to do the season passes so that we do, we have the money up front and it's not a monitoring system. Thank you.
Makes sense.
Thank you.
If I may, Scott, most of the people who buy a season pass are mooring holders and are Gloucester residents. So that's for the launch. So that's a consideration of, we'd be raising fees on our own. Well, where we're not, it's not here, but I just want to let you know that the launch passes are pretty much generally, probably 90% Gloucester residents that use that.
We're not raising the launch fees. This is the
No,
trees
we're
that
not. We're not. I just wanted to point that out, that's who uses it. And also I would say Dunfudgeon too. You're not having people coming from out of town that are launching a lot. You're having people who live here and have boats, within at least the Cape Ann region.
Mhm.
It's not people, driving down 128 over 10 times, 10 times a year. So it's, it's mainly visitors. I mean, some people do, but I don't think it's that many, because there's launches, there's launch ramps, lots of places between here and Boston. And they get to different kinds of fishing grounds and, beaches and lots of stuff in the islands, and things. So you are competing. I do think that we need to add something, because I think maximum 3 hours is not enough.
Can we discuss that a little bit more?
Jeff?
Yeah, so where this is on the honor system, I don't know that making much change to the different costs for the next hour will matter, right? They're either honorable people, as Donna's saying, or they're not. So if you're, the goal is more people coming, more people spending money downtown or just anywhere in Gloucester. And so, does it take an hour to dock? That's what you said. And then they'd only have 2 hours. I don't think it would take an hour to dock, right? If you pull up and then you pay, that's when your hour first starts, your first hour. I don't know, maybe it's 20 minutes, but you get 2.5 hours. So the goal is to keep new people coming in regularly, right? So I'm going to go, I mean, if we end up putting a motion, I'm going to trust that the Waterways Board did their homework on the time frame. And so if,
No, there was nothing on the
What's that?
time frame. I didn't see anything that was done on the time frame. I mean, Don, am I correct in that you guys didn't study the time frame and the turnover? Or Chris?
Yes, we didn't do a study. We didn't
But
do a
you
study
just-
of time frame and turnover.
No, it's kind of,
There's no mechanism, there's nobody down there, enforcing that. One of the problems is people leave the boats longer, so, to Councilor Worthy's point, we're not gonna ding people for the extra 2 minutes or something, but it would be great to have, they're supposed to leave a phone number in the box, they're supposed to, put the money in there. I don't know what we'll do, the 3 hour, if you think about, somebody coming in at 9, they're not gonna be lunch people, they're gonna, head out at noon in this situation. Or they, it gives, the 3 hours gives a chance for maybe 3 turnovers in a day on a weekend versus 2. So in my view, it does get more people into town.
and that's why I would like to keep it at the 3, Tony, and then
well, I disagree, and that's fine. But also there's 2 other things to think about. It's in the DPA. There really isn't any, we've been given a pass on this to be allowed to do this by the DEP. And also this dock is supposed to be specifically for boats that are 26 feet and larger.
I'm just not sure how the DPA and the 26 feet has anything to do with the fee or the time.
That's what the money we got for those floats, those specific floats,
Mhm.
was on the big grant, which is boating infrastructure grant, which was specifically for untrailable boats, 26 feet or larger. Very
I'm just
specific.
saying, I'm not sure how it relates to the fee increase or the
The
hour.
time frame? No, what I'm saying is the more spotlight this gets on it, the more likelihood there could be other ramifications, because also in the DPA, we are stretching, DPA is pickup drop off.
I'm just not clear how, if we've been charging for all these years for 4 hours, how change to 3 hours triggers DEP.
No, it triggers it because in today's world, actions that we take wind up in media sources.
Okay.
That's all. Just
So should we going to no
food for
fee
thought.
for 1 minute and leave? I mean, I'm not sure what you're
No,
trying to get.
all I'm saying is it's just food for thought when these things get brought up. Is that
Yeah.
we are being given, we're giving ourselves exceptions on this that, we, and DEP, said reasonable amount of time. And, I'm not in favor of the 3, I'll vote against it, but that's just the way it is.
And so, Tony, your point is that we have some potential future exposure.
We do, but nobody's,
Public transit border use.
yeah, that's all. I'm just saying this is a consideration that needs to be taken into account whenever any regulations are made around this area.
The other general point that I've heard is the issue about cash versus credit cards and accountability and the honor system. And, long term, I don't know whether our downtown parking software is something that would lend itself to use in the marina as well. I know that's based around license plate numbers and such, but for the long-term picture, these are issues that we flagged, and we don't want to make them any more labor intensive and costly to service and monitor the turnover. But these are all good issues. We're not going to resolve them this evening.
No. Tony, back to the DPA question though. If you're saying we're supposed to only do drop off and pick up, then how does going from the proposed 3 hours and keeping it 4 hours actually, I'm not kind of connecting those dots, right? So you're saying we shouldn't have any amount of time listed if it's only pick up drop off, right? Have I lost you?
Tony, you're muted.
What I said is that when we, hold on a second.
Oh, I get the dog barking here. It's like deja vu, Scott,
Sorry,
from when we
I
used
got,
to.
I know, I got a dog here that I'm trying to get Abby to come get.
Oh, I thought that was my dog.
And so, no, my point is that we've been given a little bit of leeway, but the more often that we keep publicly going about making changes on this, is it just, you never know who the next person's going to be that's in that office. That's all.
Okay.
Because, things we do get picked up by news organizations, and particularly this will be in the paper. So that I'm just saying that these are considerations
I appreciate it.
that need to be, not that it makes, it has any bearing on this vote. It's just that there's considerations about this particular facility.
I think we've had a good conversation. Shall we go ahead and make the motions?
Yes.
You make them separately, or?
Yeah, there are three. So the committee, Budget and Finance Committee, would move to recommend that the City Council amend the Gloucester Code of Ordinances, Section Chapter 10, Article 4, moorings, public landings, and city-owned commercial marinas, Section 10-51E, Section 1052I, and Section 1053A-1 as follows. The first one is Section 10-51, regulation of moorings. Subparagraph E, fees. The fee for each type of mooring shall be established by the City Council. Fees for personal moorings shall be charged by the length of vessel at the rate of $8 per foot for city residents and taxpayers, and at the rate of $10 per foot for non-residents. The fee for transient moorings shall be $200 each. A daily fee of, we're going to delete $65 and we're going to replace it and add $70, shall be charged every vessel that utilizes a municipal mooring used for transient boats operated by the harbor master. The daily rental fee for transient boats shall include the services of the Gloucester launch during regular service hours, and fees for IOA float permits shall be in the amount of $1 per square foot up to a maximum of $400, and fees for the use of the Gloucester launch shall be $10 per person per one-way trip, with children 12 years of age or younger free, and a season pass for permitted mooring holders within the boundaries of Gloucester Harbor launch, which with unlimited daily use for up to 4 passengers will cost $350. Permitted mooring holders may purchase a book of 20 ride tickets for $140, and each ticket is good for one person, one way, and I so move.
Second.
Just a correction in that, it's fees for 10A, not IOA, flow permit.
Thank you.
Just for lines.
Fees for 10A float permits.
Yeah.
Okay, looks like there's a 0 in there, but yeah. So noted. So the only difference that we're changing here is from $65 to $70 for the daily fee for each vessel. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Roll call motion, roll call vote. Councillor Gross?
Yes.
Councillor Worthley?
Yes.
Councillor Memhard, yes. Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. The next one is Section 10-52, use of public landings. Subparagraph I, we shall delete Solomon Jacobs Landing will have a $5 per hour user fee, and in place we shall add Solomon Jacobs Landing will have a $20 flat fee for up to 3 hours maximum, and I so move.
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Councillor Gross?
No.
Councillor Worthley?
Yes.
Councillor Memhard? Yes. The motion passes 2 in favor, 1 opposed. And then the third item, Section 10-53, use of public ramp at Dunfudgeon. subparagraph A, the fees for launching vessels at the Dunfudgeon Public Access Ramp shall be as follows, and as pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 21A, paragraph 2 paragraph para 8 and 320 CMR 2.00 as follows. 1, daily fee for all users except commercial boat haulers per vessel launch. We're going to delete $10 and we're going to replace it and add $15. And I so move.
Second.
Any further discussion on this? Seeing none, roll call vote. Councillor Gross,
Yes.
Councillor Worthley,
Yes.
Councillor Memhard, yes. Vote passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
I'd like to thank Harbor Master Chris Lucido and Waterways Chair Donna Crocker. And I think Phil Kuzman is also on the Waterways Board. He's here as well. So it's nice that they came and supported their motions.
Thank you all for your work. May the summer be before us.
Right.
It's only
Thank you.
February. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
So item 2 on our budget and finance agenda this evening is a memorandum from our chief financial officer regarding a loan authorization request in the amount of $115,000 for the repair of private ways, the 3 through 6 Harriet Road and 59 through 64 Grapevine Road. And this is a betterment proposal for infrastructure work on the roadway. I'll go ahead and read the motion maybe, and then we can see if there's any further discussion. This has been in the works for a good long time, and Mike Hale has provided a lot of support, and the residents are trying to address a perennial drainage issue at the intersection of Grapevine and Harriet, which has been extremely hazardous, both by way of potholes and water and ice. So the motion is to move to recommend that the City Council approve the loan order as follows. Ordered that the City of Gloucester appropriates $115,000 to pay costs of permanent repairs, including paving, to 3-6 Harriet Road and 59 through 64 Grapevine Road, private ways in the city, including costs incidental or related thereto. And to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the mayor, is authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 7, paren 5, or pursuant to any other enabling authority. Although any borrowing by the city to meet this appropriation shall constitute a general obligation of the city and pledge of its full faith and credit, 100% of the amount needed to repay any borrowing pursuant to this order shall be raised in the first instance through the assessment of betterments upon the abutters of the private ways in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 80, and any other applicable authority. The mayor and any other appropriate official of the city are authorized to take any and all actions necessary to assess the betterments described above, the term of which shall not exceed 10 years, or such shorter time as prescribed by Mass General Law. Any premium received by the city upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any premium applied to the payment of costs of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with Chapter 44, Section 20 of the General Laws, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount. And finally, further ordered that the treasurer is authorized to file an application with the Mass Municipal Finance Oversight Board to qualify under Chapter 44A of the General Laws any and all of the bonds authorized by this order, and to provide such information and execute such documents as the Municipal Finance Oversight Board may require for these purposes, and I so move.
Second.
And again, this has been in the works for a while. Ed Anderson initiated quite a bit of work. This follows up on attorney who used to live there. I think I'm skipping his name. Leslie Schlopak, a number of other abutters have taken the initiative to address this and worked with Mike Hale. They've had numerous meetings and they've gone through a betterment application process, which has been submitted to the clerk's office and from the clerk to the mayor and from the mayor back to us. Are there any questions or comments?
No, good work.
It's a
Oh,
little
actually,
different,
I had
little
one
different than most betterment projects in that it is in drainage infrastructure and paving. Yes.
So this
Mr.
will
Worthing.
address the drainage issue because, I mean, if it's just pavement, then we got the same problem, you know, a year later with the water.
There is engineering work and excavation work that is part of this project. And the engineering is being coordinated and collaborated in collaboration with with Mike Hale's office.
And are these betterments only being paid by the addresses listed on the motion, or is the entire street paying a betterment for the work done in that area?
Only the direct abutters.
Interesting way to do it. It's good that we can do that. I thought everybody on the street would have to be required to pay or sign off that they're not paying.
Each betterment, and at least my experience, is somewhat unique, and this is certainly unique in and of itself. And there was discussion about who should pay, and what's been resolved is these specific folks who have nearby frontage on the intersection.
It's great that they stepped up to do it. Everyone
Yep.
uses the street, right? Everybody on the street uses the street, and even more than that. So,
Yep.
anyway, good work.
Tony, any further discussion?
Nope, nope. Just tell them to make sure that there's not gonna be any utility work coming through, because we just found out on the Wolf Hill project that gas company put in to rip up the entire neighborhood.
Shucks. No,
Haven't paved anything yet, though.
They have to wait 2 years to do that, don't they?
More than that,
Whose job is it to reach out to the utility company?
huh?
Whose job is it to reach out to the utility companies to say, now's your chance to get in, you pave the road?
They were told a year ago and told Mike that it was tabled, and then they just came before Concom, or was supposed to go before Concom. Concom answered their meeting, but that was the first anybody heard of it. Again, resurfacing, so. But it'll get all worked around, and the final paving will be done afterwards.
So there's been a motion and a second. We've completed our discussion. Roll call vote. Councillor Gross,
Yes,
Councillor Worthy,
Yes.
Scott says aye, and the dog Vera says roof roof. Yes. So motion passes unanimously. Thank you all. The next item, Councillor Worthy, is your 2025-007 request to the administration for facilitation of a management audit of the school department with the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, or DESE, in accordance with the Gloucester City Charter, Section 7-12, management audits, and request a district review report. You want to? Well, I believe this was discussed. Am I not wrong at O&A on Monday or not?
It was only discussed to continue it. Chairman Nolan said that there was some information from DESE that he received late in the day. I haven't seen that, but he wasn't. There's a lot on the agenda that night. He just asked if we could, or if they could move it, I think 2 weeks out. So, ultimately, and that was where I initially thought the first step would be. O&A would review whether or not they'd recommend to the council to do this, and the council would vote.
I'd say continue this thing until the mayor comes to us for a transfer of funds.
Right. So I think it's got to be the council votes, yes, we want to do this, if the council does that, right? And then the mayor says, okay, if he wants to, here's the money. And then it comes to BNF for us to decide to transfer. I didn't think it needed to come. It's premature to come to BNF at this point. So I
agree.
I did hear secondhand that there is a report about this, and I did reach out late this afternoon to request that be supplied to us as well through Councillor Nolan in the clerk's office, and I have not received anything further. So I agree that it makes sense to table it at this time and continue it to our next meeting.
Table and continue are two different things, right? Table means it's dead. Continue to the next meeting, though?
I don't know about the next meeting, but
okay, I would continue it to point to a discussion in the future when further information is available, and the mayor has weighed in on our indication of interest in this report and review.
Thank you.
Okay.
But is it true we would wait for the council to decide on whether they want to make that request to the mayor as a whole, right? I don't think there's a budget and finance issue, even if the mayor were to weigh in at this point, there isn't a budget and finance issue till the council says yes or no, we want to do it. And the mayor says yes or no, I'm going to fund it, and here's how. So,
Right.
Until there's something before us, if I may, to transfer funds, I don't think we have much of a role on here.
and just for the record, I didn't propose sending it to budget and finance. It was
Yep.
decided by the council on Tuesday night. So,
So noted.
okay, thank you.
So item number 4 on our agenda is a memorandum from the Regional Prevention Director requesting our acceptance of 2 $500 84 movement startup grants. And Chelsea, this looks like it's on your plate.
Yes, it is.
Welcome.
So thank you so much. Good to see you all. I am back this time requesting permission to accept 2 mini grants in the amount of $500 each from the 84 Movement, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to tobacco and nicotine prevention for youth in the state of Massachusetts. And they have awarded our Gloucester Youth Leadership Council middle school group and high school group $500 each to focus efforts on nicotine and tobacco prevention on a peer-to-peer, using a peer-to-peer model. So we are requesting, again, acceptance of those funds. My colleagues, David Tucker and Dan Liebert, were the ones who spearheaded this effort to become an 84 Movement chapter in the city of Gloucester, and who ultimately were successful in securing these funds.
Excellent. You should all be very proud. Any councilor questions?
Not a question.
Worthley?
Continued good work, Chelsea, and to David, and to, you mentioned another name.
Dan Liebert.
Yeah, good work, and to the whole group. I cannot believe that only 84% of kids, I mean, I think it's great that 84% of kids say they do not use tobacco products, but I would think in 2025, we'd be nearing 100%. And so it proves that there's a need, and good work in getting involved, and let's hope we can get to those 16% to really help them kick this habit. So I'm supportive. Thank you.
So we have
Thank you.
we have 2 motions before us. We'll vote on them separately. The first, Budget and Finance moves to recommend the City Council accept a private grant under Mass General Law 4453A, a 84 Movement Startup Grant through the Health Resources in Action in the amount of $500, and this is for the purpose of funding supportive preventative initiatives in the middle school Gloucester Youth Leadership Council. And there is no local match for this grant, and I so move.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Roll call vote. Councilor Gross,
Yes.
Councilor Worthley,
Yes.
Councilor Memhard, yes. Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. And the second item is a move by Budget and Finance to recommend the City Council accept a private grant under Mass General Law 4453A, an 84 Movement Chapter Startup Grant through the Health Resources in Action in the amount of $500 for the purpose of funding supportive preventative initiatives in the high school Gloucester Youth Leadership Council. And there is no local match for this grant, and I so move.
Second.
Motions are made and seconded. No further discussion. Roll call vote. Councilor Gross,
Yes.
Councilor Worthley,
Yes. Good work.
Councilor Memhard, yes. Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. And again, Chelsea, a strong applause and endorsement for your good work in the community for us.
Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the support.
Yep. Thank you, Chelsea.
All right. Thank you all.
Thanks. Item number 5, Elise, we haven't seen you in a long time. Welcome.
I know. Good to see everyone.
Nice to
We
see
have
you,
a
Lisa.
memorandum from the Director of Elder Services, Elise Sinagra, requesting acceptance of the Executive Office of Aging and Independence fiscal year 25 formula grant, and this is in the amount of $154.
No, close, off by a couple decimal points.
I was just testing your attention there. $154,050, and I so move. So tell us about this.
Wait, sorry.
So yeah, so this is our formula grant. It's the biggest one we get from the state. We get it every year. It went up again. It went up some years ago because our census went up, and then it went up an additional $2 per senior. And we were, you know, the increases keep getting announced after I kind of do my budget. So it's left me the past couple of years kind of, you know, in a position of having this money where I had to look around and say, okay, what makes sense for me to spend it on in a way that's going to, you know, improve the senior center. And I believe I've done that. And then this year I was very excited to see that they did increase it by an additional $1 per senior. And the timing couldn't have been better because we had a long time kind of quasi-employee down at the senior center who we didn't pay for. We had somebody who worked there for us through another program. She was completely 100% subsidized by a program called a C-STEP program, Operation Able C-STEP program. And she hit the end of her time being able to be in that program. She had been there the entire time of my tenure with the city. So she was in that program for a long time. Hit up against the final, you know, her final participation cap in that. And you know, we really, really are feeling it with her gone. We run pretty lean down there anyway. And to be down by one part-time person was really having you know, we're feeling it. So it was great that with this additional $1, as reflected in the memo that's in the packet, with the additional $1 of this year's raise combined with the other ones from the past couple of years, we can now afford, the formula grant can fully support an additional admin, like a part-time admin, which we need, you know, pretty badly. So yeah, so I'm pretty excited about that.
That's great. Just remind us of how many seniors your inventory totals at this point, and again, how you capture that either at the front desk. We were talking about a clicking system at the back door last year, I think.
Yeah.
But an update would be appreciated.
Yes, and I'm happy to provide that. So we capture the data. So we serve Gloucester Census of Seniors is I believe we're at 10,270. I could be off by a tiny bit, but not by much. So we're at 10,270, and the primary capture is, you know, we have our own proprietary database that's just made for senior centers. It's called My Senior Center. Clever marketing there, My Senior Center. So people come in and they scan, and we find, you know, naturally that quite a few seniors use our back door, the parking lot door, so they don't walk. Some of them, if, you know, with mobility impairments and stuff, they don't want to go over and kind of scan the machine, which is at the front door. So one of the things we did was we got a mobile scanner, which we've been using, and it's fantastic. It enables us to go around the room and say, did you scanned in, right? And if someone says no, we kind of can scan them in on the spot. So that's been working really well. And we can also use that to capture data for things that we do off site. So when in the summertime, when we have bocce on the boulevard, or when we have our big cookout at Stage 4 Park, we can capture all that data with the mobile scanner. So that's been excellent. One of the things that I'm excited about with the formula grant now being able to fund a part-time admin is that one of the things that the person that we lost used to do, she did a bunch of things. She coordinated a lot of the non-emergency medical rides, which of course is a pretty critical function. But when she wasn't doing that, one of the many administrative things that she helped with was most of our programs, we do a paper sign-in sheet too, so we can kind of, you know, look at a report from My Senior Center, compare it to the paper sign-in sheet and see who didn't, you know, scan in. And that's not just to, you know, slap anybody on the wrist. We don't do that, but we just want to manually then enter the data into the database so that we can, you know, run pretty reliable reports. And that's one of the things that she did for us, was that kind of time-consuming manual data entry. So, you know, so again, hopefully this additional part-time person that the grant's going to cover now is going to be somebody that'll be able to happen with that. So between people doing the real thing, which is scanning right when they walk in, and us being able to capture them with the mobile, and then as an additional backup, having this person who can do that data entry by hand where it's necessary. I think we're getting there. I don't think the data is ever going to be perfect, and we talk about that a lot in director meetings that I have with the Mass Council on Aging, everybody kind of knows that the data with this population is likely to be undercounted all the time. But I think we're inching towards getting the data just better and better. So.
Great. Appreciate that update and progress. Other counselors,
Just a couple questions, if I could.
please.
Thank you. Elise, thank you for coming again. It's you always, every time you come to us, it seems you're bringing us money. And then this is the big one, right? And I know this is one that's there's a little lag, right? So you've been on the list that Kenny has of
Yeah.
counts, but it's not your fault. It's just a timing thing. And this will be nice to see that this will catch up quite a bit on that account being whatever called. It's not even overdrawn. It's expecting money that's coming. So
Right.
it's good to see that. Just a couple general questions, I guess. I would think that seniors are more likely to fill out their census than maybe young families, right? Just kind of like the responsible thing to do, right? But in your estimation, are there people, would you say there's some number of seniors who don't fill out their census? And maybe that might be a way to, if we even know how to reach them, and say, hey, this is really important because it gives us more money for these kinds of things. I don't know if if you think there's a gap between your experience or what you think the reality is and what the numbers are showing.
I don't know, Councilor Worthley. That's an interesting thing to ponder, but I think that people that are subject matter experts in the subject of census taking and census uptake rates and I don't kind of know a lot about that stuff, but it is a form of data collection, just like everybody going into my senior center is data collection. So it too, I imagine, is going to be imperfect. And yeah, when we do our next, census, I see great benefit in the messaging that the Census Department engages in, encouraging people to make sure they fill out that census. And I'll certainly do my part to make sure that the seniors understand that them filling out that census has a very direct impact in some of the funding that we rely on.
Yeah. I mean, for example, Seacoast Nursing Home has 142 beds. I don't know if they're always full, but my guess is people in the nursing home are probably not filling out the city census. That's 10% of, nope, sorry, it's 1% of your 10,270 number. So just might be a way to, just off the top of my head, I'm thinking, are there other ways we can, no one wants to be older, but if you're older, you might as well fill this form because it gets us more money. And then have you ever thought about a fob at the back door? I go to the gym and there's multiple fobs to get in and record who's coming in. Is that something that might have value to you so you can account for who's coming and know what I know you have an idea and you go around if people haven't filled in the thing, but just maybe a simple keychain thing.
Yeah, when we looked at the mobile scanner device, Councilor Worthley, we had thought about setting up an additional check-in station closer to the back door. And we just looked at the cost of each of those things and just determined that the mobile scanner was less money and it gave us more flexibility of functionality. So we went that route. But I mean, if they give me another formula grant next year, that's more than I expected and I didn't budget it and I don't know what to, and I got to find some, really good use for that money, then that's not a bad idea, is to also have one. But one of the things we looked at too, and as hopefully you can appreciate, we're as big as that building is, we're still space constrained. We have a lot going on there all the time. And I think the spot where it would make most sense to put a check-in station closer to the parking lot door, there are people that are there doing things. Like I know there's a gentleman who's a regular, he sits there at a computer every single day and plays solitaire and, in between socializing with people. And I looked at kind of some of the activities that I'd need to displace to put another check-in station there. The guys that are there every morning when I come in and there's like guys there playing poker, I don't, that might kind of interfere with them from a space perspective. So that's why the mobile made more sense.
And I think it's great to have mobile because you could bring it to like the bocce thing. You could do that. That does make sense. I was thinking not a whole check-in place that takes up more space. If you go into the door, you swipe your fob, you're in. You don't take up a table or a desk or someone working there. But that's a whole other conversation for another day.
Counselor, though, one of the things about the check-in station, and that's great about the mobile thing too, is that when people so at the Y, I know what you mean. You do the fob thing, but with us, That's just the beginning of it. They scan the key tag, and then they go and say what they're there for. So in addition to me being able to have reports on just the number of people
Yeah.
that are there, it's what are they there doing? So, yeah.
So a fob wouldn't capture that. They'll just tell you a person came in. It may tell you who came in. It won't tell you what they're working on, what they're doing. So that's not as helpful.
Yeah,
I should
exactly.
just trust that you know what you're doing, at least. There's an idea
No,
of-
it's always good to be questioned because it's always good for me to be reminded to question myself on knowing what I'm doing. So
Just an idea to be helpful, not to question you. I'm impressed that you got this
I know,
grant again.
Counselor.
and- Yeah, thank you. I have no further questions.
Councillor Gross?
No, just this grant came in a lot earlier this year, didn't it?
It did. Well, what happened is last year, I didn't realize that I couldn't ask for the council to accept it without all of it here yet. I thought that I had to wait. They give it in 2 disbursements. So I waited for the second disbursement, which is why I was asking for acceptance later. And it did also come in a little bit earlier. And I also learned that I could go through this process sooner. I just wasn't clear on kind of procedure. But I realized that I could go through this process once we got that first disbursement. So,
Great,
Right.
thanks.
So Budget and Finance would move to recommend that the City Council accept under Mass General Law, Chapter 4453A, a Massachusetts State Fiscal Year 2025 Council on Aging formula grant allocation from the Massachusetts Executive Office of Elder Affairs in the amount of $154,050. There is no local match for this grant. The grant period is from July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025, and I so move.
Second,
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote. Councillor Gross,
Yes,
Councillor Worthley,
yes.
Councillor Memhard. Yes, motion passes 3 in favor, 0
Thank you.
opposed. Thank you very much, Elise.
thank you. Have a great night, everyone.
Watch your
you too,
step.
thank you.
Kenny, we're down to just you. How are you doing?
Doing well, and yourself?
Thank
Can you hear me, counselors?
Yep,
Can.
Thank you. So compared to the last report, there's an increase of six accounts. So there's 39 accounts on this current report, and there's an increase of over $95,000, and a big piece of that, a big portion of that, is the snow and ice. There's a lot of snow and ice accounts that are popped up in this account, and it's typical this time of year, as the counselors know. You'll start seeing snow and ice, either projected deficits or deficits. Let's just hope that it doesn't get too bad. But the good news is tonight, as you heard, Elise, with the Council on Aging, with the grant, so that'll clear up perhaps 2 accounts, the salaries and the hourly permanent. So there's some good news with this report. That's all I have, unless there's any specific questions.
Councilors?
I have one question. Hang on a second. Kenny, on the snow and ice.
Yep.
I know we have this thing where we have to put a certain amount of money compared to what we budgeted the prior year. I don't quite remember exactly how it works, but we are, you said we typically see snow and ice popping up this time of year. This current storm obviously is not part of this number yet. This was based on, I guess, last week, right?
It would probably be the last snowstorm, but you'd be surprised. There are times where, in May and June, there's always some stragglers.
Right.
We're paying from the past.
Oh, I mean, I would just expect that in a perfect world, we're 58% of the way through our fiscal year. We'd be 58% through every budget that has regular expenses. Obviously, snow and ice isn't regular because we're not paying snow and ice removal in July and August and September. But you wouldn't think we'd be over the budget yet with, I think, only 2 or 3 storms, and it's only February, beginning of February. We have February, March, April to go. Shouldn't we be putting a bigger number into snow and ice so we don't run into this problem? And then we're just scrambling in June to June 45th, as you say, to make this all line up. And I know if we take it, put it there, we have to put that number in every year. But I can't imagine that if we're in February, we're in a deficit already. I can't imagine. And last year we had no snow and we went over the budget. We obviously there's ice issues, right? But I think we should really, and just say to the mayor and to ourselves, just say maybe we need to just up that number so we're not chasing our tail on this. It's never going to be lower than what it is right now, right?
Yeah,
Sand,
we
salt,
always talk about this.
I know.
Yeah, I was just say we always talk about this each year. I mean, you know, the expenses of salt. I mean, it just continues to increase, and yeah, no, I do recall in the past maybe once or twice that we were under the budget, and I know there was at one point the administration and the city council was looking to access those funds, and unfortunately, I had to provide the bad news that, you know, once we budget that amount, we're not able to decrease it, or we're not able to access those funds. Of course, Boston, they're able to, because the laws, there are exceptions to the laws, and Gloucester's not listed under that exception, but Boston is. But no, I understand. I mean, I'm looking at the totals for fiscal year 25. I mean, as you know, we budget 766,600. We've already expended 842,758, and that is expenditures through last week. But again, like I said, there's always stragglers, and then we have
I don't think we're halfway through the season yet. The snow season, are we?
right. No, we're not. And we've already gone over that amount. I mean, I have actual expenditures of 842,000, encumbrances out there for 124. So we're already in a deficit right now for 200,000. I mean, if you look at last year, as you mentioned, it was a mild winter. We expended 963,000, and the year prior was about $1,043,000. So it looks like at least $1 million, you know, each year. I'm just taking a look now. Let's see. I mean, it looks like in 2020 we were at 626,000. Same in 2015. That was the unprecedented year of 3.5 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're. I mean,
we should be cognizant of not being, the goal is to be as accurate as we can. And if we're still short a little bit, that's one thing, but we're probably going to have a $400,000, $500,000 deficit in this account by the time the year's over.
It could be. It's just, the thing is, I mean, it does look like it's probably, I know we talked about this in the past many times. I know I've talked to John and Jim Destino in the past. They've always acknowledged probably the real number is probably somewhere between $1 million, $1.2 million. That's probably the real number each year. But I mean, I'm just looking at fiscal year 20 and 21. It was under $1 million. So like we had 840,626. So if we did budget $1 million, you'd have a couple 100,000 sitting on the sidelines that we wouldn't be able to access. And I think that's the part that I think some struggle with.
Yeah, but maybe go to 800, 850, something just gets it closer, so we're not scrambling in June to try to fill a budget we should have been able to expect. Anyways, that's it. I appreciate the report, and
we can look forward to the exercise.
Perennial annual ask.
Right.
Yep.
If there's no other business,
no,
sorry?
We're in an El Nino year, so it's more moisture here. It's just the cold that's croaking us.
So we should hope for global warming?
Well, no, but the El Nino gives us more water, so our reservoirs are filling up. So we're getting benefit on the other side of this.
Our reservoirs are will be overflowing pretty soon. Anyways, I'm good. Thank you for your time, everybody.
I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Roll call vote. Councillor Gross.
Yay.
Councillor Worthley.
Yes.
Councillor Memhard. Yes. Thank you, Lines. Thank you, Connor. Thank you, Kenny.
Yep. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, councilors. Good night.